meeting minutes. No bad came from it today.
Approved.
Anyone else agree? with
Or-
this?
Second.
Minutes
and-
approved.
Yeah. approved. Yeah.
Good morning.
Oh.
Okay.
Look at you.
They did make it. We just approved the minutes.
This is the first time in a long time everybody's been actually here in person. I mean, we could still have somebody come. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's also nice to see everyone.
So, we want to welcome our new members. I just thought maybe you want to introduce yourself and say what you do.
Sure, yeah, my name's Rick Irwin. I, for 16, 17 years was the director of City Museum. A couple years ago, I stepped down to become the creative director to spend more time with my family. And that's when, time opened up to be a part of this. And, I've lived in Webster for 17 years. Gosh, kids go to Bristol, Hickston, all involved. So, no, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Welcome.
Rick, weren't you there when we did the tribute?
I did, yes, yeah, and then I got Max to come, Bob's son.
Yeah,
Yes,
to come
that
to
was
it. That was
great.
great.
Thank
So,
That was amazing.
Yeah. The Castleys are a long part of Webster. I
Yes,
think
they are. Yeah.
Steve is still around. I'm sure he's a handful.
Just for notice. Commission meetings are recorded.
Okay.
Hello.
Good morning. Hey.
Maybe we should all introduce ourselves as well.
You think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, especially also because Eric doesn't know everyone yet.
I'm John Shapiro.
So Jen, what's your role with the commission?
My role is now I'm the, I don't know what you would call it.
Chair.
Chair.
I'm the chair.
Head honcho.
The head honcho. So always you can write to me or if there's something in particular.
I do, I agree with Ron though. You never want to sit in the typical chair seat. I don't know why.
Exactly.
You play by your own rules.
I'm Beth Curley. I'm Maud Bouchard Trost. Yeah, resident of about 11 years.
Janice Seeley.
Donnie Inglis.
I'm Eric Peterson. I'm the Assistant City Manager. I'm filling in for Jenny Starkey's role as your liaison, at least this month, possibly next month, but Jenny Starkey's replacement, as that position is onboarded, will be taking on the Arts Commission. So I'm just in the temporary world, keep the tires on it. Keep things spinning.
It's a good time to have in the temporary world though, because it's budget time and he's the budget guy.
It's true, it's true.
I'm the mayor, Laura Arnold.
Rick Irwin.
Alex Olmsted, resident, I think it's going on 5 years now, so fairly new. Worked for the Clay Community Foundation and previously Contemporary Art Museum, St. Louis.
Rob Longstreet.
Who's lived here
I've
since the
lived here.
beginning of Webster
I'm
Groves.
third generation in Webster Groves. Yeah, in the same house.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
Our
not-
fathers were friends.
What?
Our dads were friends.
Oh, really?
I think our grandfathers were friends too. I mean, come on now.
So you're old school Webster Groves too?
Yeah. Well, I went away for a while, so.
Well, I met your family is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Wow, we actually have art.
Okay. So the first thing,
Oh, there it is. I just didn't see it once.
public art one.
So was
yeah,
this everybody
is-
going to try and find what they had with the public art plan, the old one?
Yeah, so all of this is all Prop W stuff. This is not directly related to the commission, just so people are looking at stuff. We have just the graphics and the art. For the public art plan, Alex found something and forwarded it to Jenny. Did Jenny forward that on?
We have it. I didn't forward it out because I wasn't sure if it was all the material for it and such. So I'm gonna put it up on the screen so you can see it.
Great,
So-
yeah, please do.
No eyes in the back of your head there.
Not today, I left them
So
at
I
home.
believe this was one of the pieces, which was the Arts District.
Yeah.
Okay, see if I can zoom this around a little bit so y'all can see this a little better.
And we were in the process of like, this, to what degree this was an official document, I don't think it ever was. And that's, I think, what we were talking about at the last meeting is if this is full, if you're starting to talk about master planning, perhaps this document could be shown to those that are facilitating the master plan to somewhat, in some degree, get this into an official master planning document.
Or at least overlay it
Overlay.
and bring it into the public conversation to get public comment on it.
Yeah.
And to adjust it.
Obviously outdated a little bit here, but
Yeah, and there was there one too about like,
there are three I had. total.
no, yeah, there.
So there's Artways, a brochure from the commission at some point, and then we had, looks like a Artways presentation to
Yeah.
council in 2010.
What I really like about this one is that it talks about the gateways, the paths and the nodes. So it talks about all these different sites that have been identified.
Really nice layout.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that layout a
Yeah.
lot, and the type is really nice.
And obviously it's a dated document. I mean, I think it's maybe,
Mhm.
It's from
2010.
September 2010.
yeah, so fairly dated, but the concept is good in terms of understanding the gateways, the paths and the nodes and things like that.
So if we did something, update, have something like that, we could sit on Webster's website.
Yeah, well, and then also, Beth and all the work that has done as it pertains to understanding the current aspects of what is pre-existing with public art. I mean, some of those artworks are city-owned, some of them are Webster University, yada, yada, yada. So there's kind of the pre-existing things that are happening, but then also my interest is what's the future? Right, so it's like, okay, well, what's the gaps that exist? And this is one of the reasons why I started talking with Rick and kind of the new park on Oxford and Big Bend. This is just one of many different opportunities within the city, and this is a way to also be strategic about it. So you don't just have someone coming to you and going, hey, art commission, yada, yada, yada. It's like, no, art commission dictates kind of what the master plan is, and it's strategically done with the city.
There's an inside staff gateway here. All the gateways are above I-44.
Yeah, and
Like all of Watson. So when we look at Watson as a staff member, Watson Road is of course our southern gateway, southern border.
Yes.
We act like it's not Webster Groves
Well,
in many ways.
actually, that was one of my first thoughts when I saw the map. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, it was all along the Lockwood.
Yeah.
And Kirkland, but yeah.
Traffic count down there is tens of thousands of cars.
And more police reports.
Yeah.
We don't have anything with the South View Webster. Even as a goal, yeah. Yeah.
I think we talked about this in the last meeting too. It's like, well, what is I keep saying the lowest hanging fruit. It's like, what can be done or what should be prioritized first? I think we talked with Jerry about that, and I can't remember what location she had specified. but-
It was the one where it's like Lockwood splits
Yeah,
in the median right there, right where you're at Rock Hill. I mean, that has been in conversation, I think, for like 6 years at least, of like, and then she has that piece of art, she's like. I mean, I don't know how big that is or how appropriate is that for that space, but that was kind of a long time ago was. a conversation.
and the question that I'm always asking with this too is like the degree of what's the goal? You know, what's the end goal? Is the end goal to drive economic development? Is the end goal for urban beautification? Is the, you know, it's like, what's the goal with public art? But I think it's important because this is a city commission for the city to be in on those conversations and then maybe also have a stake in it, and a budgetary stake would be nice to understand that, like, okay, you can create this with public and private dollars. And it can be majority either way. But if you don't know what the goals are, and if it's not integrated into master planning, then we're all just sitting around the table, you know, talking theory.
Not that we necessarily need to make a motion or a movement, but like, but we could say something like that we would like formally would like the planning commission to accept, review and you know, with the caveats that this is dated material and that we would like for to take in the whole boundaries of Webster Groves and a more like geographically, culturally inclusive update to it.
When you say planning commission, do you mean the
Or-
comprehensive plan?
Yes, that's what I mean.
Okay.
Well, do we want to use this as a model and update it, or do we
It's one of
not
the,
find it necessary? That's
Well, it's efficient to start with a framework. So, you know, in the interest of having it not languish for a long time as we figure out the frame. But because inevitably, when you're working with something like this, you come to something, you go, there's nothing in here about this, you know, and then you can add it. So I think, yes, I think the idea
use it as a, like
Yeah.
a model,
as a
and
model,
we could update, or we could even eliminate some
Exactly.
pages. Because it does seem awfully long. I mean, I thought it was very interesting, very
Yeah.
good, but it's a lot of pages.
So it might be helpful if I fill in where we are in the comprehensive plan process. So we interviewed last week the final 3 companies and expect either this week or next week to name the vendor who's gonna do the comprehensive plan for us. All of them expected to start, I mean, some of them wanted to start in March. I think that's unrealistic of you. So I think some of them will want to start in certainly in April and May at the latest. So there is a little bit, if we're gonna do some updating, a little bit of urgency to go ahead and get that done. And then I think, you know, during the process, you know, there's a lot of opportunities for public engagement. So there will be some times for either to invite some of the people working on the comprehensive plan to this commission, or to set up a meeting with some members of the commission with people on that. So we can find ways for some direct interaction, but if you want this document to be part of that interaction, probably getting to work on it sooner rather than later is the plan.
I'm sorry. I just want to add one more piece of information so that the comprehensive plan, of course, speaks to a lot of things, right? And so you've got a great plan that probably in the life of the city stood outside of all those things because it had no place to be, right? And there's also going to be an economic development plan that then flows out of the comprehensive plan that'll have to be put together. So some of those things you talked about, like we talked about beautification, streetscape projects, Crossroads is gonna have one. Those kinds of moments, you know, when we're creating right-of-way spaces and such. I think both plans are gonna have that. So I ultimately see a plan like this almost becoming not so much even a standalone, but the elements, much like sustainability. This is a value of the city. Creativity is a value of the city. And so we live this in all of our ways through the comprehensive plan, or economic development plan, or, you know, our financial plan, all that.
Can this be, I know it's up here, can it be sent out, because I don't think I had it, so that all of us can kind of take more time to digest it, because I think when I saw this maybe 5 or so years ago, it was more in the conversation was more about that Lockwood corridor and just creating, just identifying those areas of opportunity. Should we be aware of a piece of art coming our way so that we would have an idea of like, okay, here are the spaces we would like to potentially look at. It wasn't like, when it was discussed then, it wasn't like, we are gonna put 20 pieces of art here. It's like, here are the places that we have opportunity, and would it be ideal to like fill it in and have this wonderful like artscape from Old Orchard to Old Webster? Yes, but realistically, do we have a budget for that to make that happen all at once? No. So let's think about how could we eventually get there, moving slowly with more way. And so I think just keeping that in mind for the comprehensive plan and whoever's ever doing that, like looking at those areas of opportunities, maybe it's the Lockwood corridor, but maybe if they're doing something else with Crossroads, or, you know, that maybe there's just to keep in mind, like, we need to be looking for these spaces and these opportunities to include art. And just having, you know, so it may not be a direct correlation to what they're doing, but I think just looking for those windows of opportunity was kind of the point, right?
You're gonna have a lot of those opportunities real soon. So I mean, Watson, the state's redoing Watson this coming summer. So
Oh, I
That's
you're
really,
gonna get a whole new set of sidewalks and ADA. So you're gonna have right of way improvements there. We're gonna be redoing Elm with a
Right.
trail between Glendale and Watson, the whole separate off grid or off sidewalk trail, you know, both ways. So you're gonna have right of way improvements all around the city.
I'd like the city to identify those, right? Because holistically,
Yes.
we don't understand what's gonna be coming out of the master plan. So if the city says, we are doing this project, we are doing this project, that an architecture firm that's pre-subcontracted for that goes, well, we understand that there's a site for the Public Art Commission and the discussion and public community engagement and all these other things. This template doesn't, it's so dated that it doesn't understand all those.
Right, all the
intricacies.
changes.
it's awfully long. I was gonna say, the thing is, that even though I was, thought it was very cool and looking through everything, but it's long and what would be, what's the ultimate purpose, even though it's nice and showcase, would it be a brochure that people would look at? Or did you want it online, or do we need it at this point?
So
I,
I was just gonna say, you know, one of the things that the comprehensive plan will do is identify some public spaces for improvement as well, right? And those would be ideal spots. So I think what this document does and how it does it and what its life is one question. But I think probably from what you all said, fundamentally, this should be in the framework of the comprehensive plan so that those sites are identified, so that there is sort of this history that says to 3 councils from now, we said this is a great place for public art, this piece is available, let's do that, or we've come up with a funding mechanism, let's do that. So I think there really are 2 uses for something like this. One, to help council and the community understand the role of public art in our comprehensive plan, and then one, to make that sure that lives on after the planning's done, finished.
Additionally, if I have a plan that I can go to Lawmeyer Sculpture Park with, and it is a 70-page document that is produced by the city. I can say, here's this document, and on page 20, this is a Lawmeyer piece that needs to be right here.
I think.
But it shows
comprehensive.
the research and it shows the backing from the city itself, and that's what is needed.
And there's no reason why you can't have the bulwark of a more comprehensive document that supports a summary statement or an abstract that highlights the current priorities for what's coming up, or, you know, I love bullet points personally, much more than paragraphs, especially when I'm in a hurry, but I also like having a paragraph, you know, to go back to for some details. So I don't see the one conflicts with having, you know, brevity, fabulous, and then some depth to support the brevity.
And then for us, I mean, I love the idea of having the city's master plan point out spots for us, because again, the one line wasn't that much. But is there a way to also say, you know, generally, if we can obtain art and if we can have some art donated to us, in general, what is the cost? So how quickly can we move? How many can we afford? And where would we need to maybe see if we get some public monies to move forward to.
Additionally, I would advocate and say it'd be nice to understand the infrastructure of that public money. So for instance, the pedestal that's going on, the sidewalk and things like that. So a lot of times all of that costs just as much as the piece that it's sitting on, right? So to have the support from the city of kind of, or the lighting, right? Or what have you, like that infrastructure is so critical and costs so much money and requires public works to be involved, parks to be involved, et cetera. The artwork sometimes will just match that cost. So if the art commission can work on the private side of the fundraising of the artwork, perhaps the city could work on the infrastructure where the artwork sits.
Yes.
And that's sort of the way Barbary Park worked.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and that looks.
And it makes sense. It makes sense. That way makes sense because I think the art commissioners can run in that network in that field and we can I think we can raise those dollars or the network or the loans or what have you. What we can't do is consult with Public Works, get the lighting, get the electrical.
One other point that I'd like to share for sort of clarity overall for what a comprehensive plan entails is that the company that wins the bid is going to be reviewing thousands upon thousands of pages of past plans, historic documents, and a lot of detail. And so accepting this and you know, and using that to inform what the comprehensive plan is going to be going forward. I would say that I would be comfortable that with them reviewing including these documents in that review. If we want to review it before, you know, one more month before we give it on to them with any context that we want to provide, that could make sense. But in general, they're going to be reviewing a lot of different plans from a lot of different departments and commissions over time. I would assume that'd be one component.
Yeah, that's part of the process. I think given how dated this one is, it would be good to send along with some sort of cover
Context.
document that says the Arts Commission still generally believes in this and we want to add X, Y, and Z, yeah.
So Eric, you'll be sending that?
I will send these 3 documents out. So you'll have this, the Artways presentation, I'll call it. There was this brochure that was created, and then this map of the Webster Arts District. So creative corridor, so.
Was there a plan for the amphitheater at Eden at the time?
I think Eden had a conversation about it. At some point. The one for the
They
city
had a
was
lot of
always.
Yeah, well, that's true. Was
There's that big one.
a long time ago.
Well, a lot of the players have changed.
Moving on.
Should we?
What do you want to do with this, or should we just table this particular document? Guess is what.
I think you're gonna review it because a lot of people haven't.
Haven't seen it.
You and I have seen
We've
it.
seen it.
But the other commissioners haven't, and it hasn't
Yeah.
been distributed, and I would say, once
Send it.
everybody reviews it, if next meeting, if you come with edits and things like that. I'm more than happy to pull together any of the edits. It's
That'd be
outside of
great.
my holistic expertise in terms of the understanding of the community. But
It's long. I think.
design wise and compilation wise, I could pull it together all the edits.
Yeah, I
so.
wonder if we could, I mean, for the public, maybe shorten some of it. I think the idea.
But I don't think at this point are we, is this,
No, we're-
I don't think this is for public consumption, right? It's just for context
just
and
for us.
background to go to the plan, whoever is going to work on the
Work on it.
comprehensive plan, so. I think the link at this point isn't necessarily an issue, it's just more like that cover letter, whatever we're gonna state that says. We'd like you to consider this, here's what we think is important about this, here's what we are looking for your input on.
And here's the new things that aren't on this.
I'd say next session, come with your notes. I will take down notes and write all over. I mean, even if you come and bring notes to me, and I can compile them all together and synthesize it into some type of editable way, so the master planners can look
Would
at
it
it.
make actually even more sense after we get this to have all of our notes sent to you in advance, so you could organize them so that
Sure,
it's easier to follow. And we could all take a look at everybody else's.
sure. So like
You see
maybe,
what repeats.
Right.
maybe 15 days from when you receive it, right? So
Sure.
it gives me 15 days to maybe synthesize it or whatever.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Can I also say, any new member of this commission would surely welcome having something like this to give them a sense of what this is before kind of coming in. I think it's or anybody considering becoming a member of the commission, something like this, even summarized, would also just be a helpful tool.
Okay, should we, what to the next subject of the banners.
So the CBI Community Showcase banners, I give you all a printout you can have. They have sent over six pieces of artwork from City of the Arts banners.
It's like,
On the other side.
So the, again, CGI is a partner of the National League of Cities. They will come through. They handle all of this. They've already measured our poles and all that and have the locations. So they're gonna start selling the sponsor edition. They do that. They provide the banners to us for free. They stay up for a whole year. That's the right of the sponsor to have it up for a year. Next year, we can change the artwork. We can keep the artwork. We'll get a whole new set of banners next year. Same artwork, different artwork, whatever we
Yeah.
want to do. So.
Do we have more options?
You want- If you want more, so the package works that there are 6 total, so we can make suggestions and changes if we want. So that's the point of this conversation. So love to hear from you.
I think number 1 is the easiest to read. And I like the background of number 6. But that's as far as my comments would go based on.
I liked the background of number 6 the best, but I don't think that any of them say arts. I mean, it's, to me, if you're saying City of the Arts, it should be fun, it should be exciting, it should be bold. And none of these to me.
Well, the question too is what's on the sponsor section and then what are you asking? What's the content of the sponsor? Is it just the name of the sponsor or is it an image? And if it's an image, then that's the content and that's then less is more in terms of all the writing. And you want to highlight your particular sponsor, for instance, like the Repertory Theater, if there's a picture of an actor and there's also a logo of the rep and all these other things, then.
Yeah, it's not clear to me too, if there is a picture, like how the logo would overlay on that and how that would work. Within this design, I would want to know, like, is it going to be basically like either a white or black logo, depending on the color of the photograph? Because some of this, like, is gonna look super, if it is like, we're actually looking for an image, it's gonna be super busy to have something on like number 2 with a photo. But if there's no photo, then it's gonna look super boring to have just another logo on like number 1, so I think that.
is it gonna be, yeah, so this sponsor section, is it gonna be more type?
We're gonna pull it up for you right here.
Yeah,
So
for this photo.
let me see if I can find the.
I thought we were asking for a photo at one point, but I don't know if that changed.
I mean,
And
the opera theater and the rep makes sense, they would do a photo. But a restaurant would be kind of people eating.
It's all
Yeah,
videos.
probably, but if there's, and they're showing
A giant
six, so do we pick one? Yeah.
Okay.
Well, when you use fonts like 4 and 5, they fade too fast. I can tell you from doing banners downtown. Like that, distress font will just go in a month. So where you do the bowls, I know you think 2's too busy, but those will hold longer. The blue of the 1 will stay the longest. So, but I do agree with you in your photos for sponsors, we changed everything.
Yeah, I mean, if it's just a logo, so if it's just a logo that's going on there, that makes a lot of sense, because then you have Webster Groves
So in
logo.
general, there are logos. So if you can
Yeah.
watch it, I'm sorry, you're
Yeah.
watching a video here, but it's generally up to the sponsor. So like State Farm, you're gonna see the little State Farm shell or whatever the half thing is that,
Yeah.
you know. Edward Jones is gonna say Edward Jones on it, things like that. So A&G Markets and that, you know, obviously puts a grocery cart. I think you'll
Oh,
see.
so
them.
like the logo.
Yeah, so
So it
you'll see
doesn't matter if
logos.
they have like an icon, a logo, or
Sure,
an
yeah,
image.
yeah. Usually it's a name and a logo.
Generally, these banners are pretty small if we're talking about who the target audience is, so I would actually recommend that they say just logos
Mhm.
rather than.
Detail of the picture is gonna get lost.
Yeah, it's gonna go.
It'd be too busy.
Maybe
Yeah.
too busy.
Yeah, I think-
Here's my screen.
Yeah, and they're not gonna.
This video is.
So which colors in total pay us?
Red and basically it's because that outline on that
Yeah.
blue is just gonna disappear with the images.
So.
That's
Scroll down.
Oh, yeah.
I knew it.
There we go.
So if we had if we had an image or, you know, if there's something that's in your mind when you think of Webster Grove's art. And it looks like that could be sort of the background. If you look at City of Parks, you have that sort of faded background. So we could, if we had an image that we wanted to put behind the city logo and,
What's our signature sculpture?
or signature, yeah. Otherwise,
Bigger,
it just,
bigger question is ask which one do people think is?
Can we tell people when we are getting sponsors, you know, limited to a logo and name, and it can't be more than 2 colors? Or whatever is going to keep it from being.
I can ask, them, so. I certainly ask. I think the fundamental factor is that we can say we encourage that. I'm pretty sure we can say we encourage it. Trying to remember how we ran it in Arizona. We had a little different market share we were dealing with. But essentially, you know, the company needs to sell them for us to get the banner. So if it, you know, if ABZ Contracting wants to have 85 things on their 2 by 1 foot square thing, you know, I don't, they're probably not gonna say.
When I look at every one of these, I think they're too busy. I
Yeah.
mean, and then if I talk about this Nashville one with the picture behind it, it's like, nobody's gonna see this, whether they're walking or driving, like the face and the detail. of
You would be
it.
surprised. So when I'm down in Noma,
Yeah.
when I'm in Noma in DC, so I go to Noma's up by North Massachusetts, the Noma area up by Gallaudet. It's amazing that their artwork that they have, public artwork, is their banners. And so they add those images on, and it's how they get Noma in there, right? And it's abstract and you can barely read it from a distance, but you get up on it, it's like crystal clear. So now that's just my experience with it. They're not this company, but I mean, they're doing, you know,
This.
neighborhood banners in that way, so.
Another question is, you look at these different options, it's like, on some Webster Rose is really large, and some City of the Arts is really large, and so what do we want to have precedent? And I think one is City of the Arts.
I agree.
Precedent.
thought that's what
Am I
were gonna do.
am I
knew that. I thought
supposed
that's what
to-
you were gonna push.
If I'm supposed to say Webster Groves, I'm not gonna say that,
Right.
because hopefully people know they're in Webster Groves, right? Yeah.
Indoor maps.
Yeah.
Is there, with this new option though of doing it through CGI, is it limited to more arts focused organizations buying into this? So it could be anyone. So that's where there's sort of like a.
Mhm.
I mean, I do think we should put City of the Arts, but it's also sort of like it's City of the Arts and like something insurance.
The banners are ours, they'll say what we want them to say. right?
Yeah.
So,
Right,
yes,
but they're
it is-
selling to and
they're-
whoever wants to.
They're selling, they're starting with
Well,
our arts community as we ask.
Starting with that.
Yes,
Yeah.
so.
So hopefully the majority will be
Okay.
arts organizations or arts related businesses.
I would, with number 1, what I'd actually do is I'd move City of the Arts up to the top and I'd take this Webster Groves logo and I put it in the middle.
Smaller.
So it's like, just like a variation of number 1, so you're shouting City of the Arts a little bit louder. You're still saying Webster Groves using the Webster Groves logo, but just kind of make it a little bit small, make it a little bit, obviously that green logo is not gonna integrate into that blue background,
Right.
but some version
We
of
have
number
like-
1.
What are the type styles that they can use? Because City of the Arts looks very, and the number 1 looks very businesslike. Number 3, you can't read. And on the back, you can't really read any of them either. So what are our options there?
I think that number 6 is readable. I just don't like.
Well, it's very similar to what we currently kind of have, and so that's probably why but I think we should try to go for something.
Right.
Yeah.
Creative.
Whatever banners are still
Creative, but
exist
not
that we did, you can just take a look again at that.
Yeah,
That's
this has that
just
kind of
a-
similar.
Speckled.
I don't like the idea though too of having like 2 white blocks on top of each other, like if the Webster Groves logo is going to be in a.
But you
Kind of
could do
white
this one where on number 6, where it's just Webster Groves in white.
Yeah, just on the blue background or whatever.
Yeah,
But with
where you could move this up and then, yeah, just
Yeah.
bring the image forward without having a background to it. Or
Eric,
on.
could you go to that public art master plan again, if you saw that document up, because we have there's our logo, right? I mean, theoretically, that's the only logo that I've seen of ours.
For the commission, yes.
And I don't know who made that,
That's
but
nice.
but
It's probably John.
It's
I was
clean.
thinking, John,
Yeah, it's really clear.
I only refer to it in terms of us thinking and talking about text type and fonts and everything
The
else.
city has a brand
Yeah.
guide. So I mean, we do have a logo set that, you know, in specific fonts that we use and such like that. We have not applied them to certainly the City of the Arts banners do not meet the brand guide of the city. So, they predate it. So I mean, in terms of typeset for the banners, you know, we have not said it has to be Proxima or Georgia, you know, to.
So we either have to pick the whole.
Well, give us those feedback and we
Examples
can.
are, right, or submit some other examples.
I do like having green in there because I feel like that's seems organic and not, I can't having like navy and yellow just seems out of place for. You know, what people expect if they don't perform in that,
I
yeah,
wonder how you got those colors, the.
yeah.
There's a lot of blue out there right now. If you like, Old Webster, Old Orchard.
Yeah, that's
blue
true,
most
they
of
do
the-
have that,
so.
yeah.
Isn't the banners that we did are like
They're
black
black.
and black, but
Black.
it still was striking. I thought the lettering seemed.
I would advocate, again, since you have this brand and style guide, if you were to take Webster Groves art or City of the Arts and apply your Webster Groves brand guide to that, what would that look like, or what would that yield? It wouldn't necessarily yield the, you know, the squiggle line, but what would it do where it could
Pull it
integrate?
up right now for you. So here's our quick brand guide, you know, the logos and such. There's the colors, there's our secondary colors. So when we obviously work in these colors, mostly our reports and such, but we do have these as our secondary colors that fit the logo. And then our fonts. So I mean, if you're gonna see a primary City of the Arts, you're probably gonna see in Proxima Nova, or you're gonna see it in Baskerville,
Just keep it Sarah.
which is obviously, when you look at City of the Arts now, it's almost a sort of an abstract
Yeah.
sans serif type of typeface. So. Now, these are built for city documents, you know, I mean,
Yeah,
not,
right.
this is not meant to be an artistic
Right.
improvisation on legislation, so.
My feeling is as much as you want it to be striking and like the original banners we had were the black and the color and they were very striking. I think that when you have this unknown of what people are putting in here, you really need to go for simplicity in the background, otherwise it's going to look very cluttered, busy, and people are going to make comments that, oh, those are very unattractive, you know, because it's too much visual stuff going on. So I feel like we need to err on the side of very sort of like basic in the background so that whatever is here doesn't look
Too much.
like it doesn't, like there was no thought of how it was cohesive.
I would second that, and I would say that if you integrate this, the city's brand style guide into this, and it reflects not only the logo, but also the font style and type of the City of the Arts, then you allow the sponsor to
Yeah,
shine
That can be
and
the,
really be your core.
Yes.
and they're gonna be more likely to be like, yes, that, yeah.
So stripped down, like what you're saying,
more like a back.
and like what we just saw, whatever, the page before.
And the last thing you want is people like writing on Facebook, well, look at those banners, it's so great, like, you know, it's like we don't, you know.
Somebody's gonna do that anyway.
They're gonna do it anyway,
We
but
know
like,
that.
I
Some
don't
people
know.
do it about current banners.
Somebody's gonna do it.
And granted, but you're never gonna please anyone, but I feel like if it's
You
too
want
much,
1,000 of them.
then you run the risk of people.
Even the color is gonna be,
You also have the
the
benefit of every
background color
year,
could be tricky.
every year. So I mean, if you come through next
That
this
white
year, and you're
background.
like.
Well, you don't.
There's
know
her
what
bold.
they're gonna-
People want really great things,
Eric, has the banner company received the brand style and
They
guide?
have.
This is what they produce.
That's what they, I'm
Okay.
quite sure they deleted some other cities' names and put in our name, you know, I mean.
Yeah. I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that that's what they
Yeah.
were proceeding with.
To give you a sense, we did this program in Arizona, CGI, in Coconino County Flagstaff area where I was before this. And the company, you know, we obviously have a very strong Navajo and Apache tradition there in terms of art and culture. And the company came in with something very not that. And they took immediate feedback and came back and brought back a whole semblance of things that match that cultural competency.
Just-
Yeah.
it's a-
They're
something
good in
right
that
up
way,
to-
yes.
Because we're having, this time our banners now don't have fully sponsored, so now that's the part we don't know, and like what that color is, or like when you see the differences here, that would make a difference in what that banner's gonna look like.
Blue is green ones or whatever. Green. Dark.
Sorry, folks, I'm driving around here on you. I don't even think they don't say Webster Groves on them even, do they? Pretty sure they don't.
No,
Do we have those black banners still up with the City of the Arts?
there's one right
Yeah,
now.
they're kind of gray and.
No, they're
They really were
But they're
pretty.
faded.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
they're
they're-
faded, yeah.
They're there, they just-
Say black.
Yeah, but the
Black
sign
ones.
is-
But there's
Okay.
the contract.
But they're good, I mean, but they were all the same.
Right.
yeah, there is Webster. under
Oh, there they
it,
are.
yeah.
So just to give you a sense, also part of the goal of this is if this is successful and this does take off, as you can see, like Old Webster behind that, you know, when you get about 80 polls that need those for the business districts, just one, that's, you know, roughly about $9,000 worth of banners that you're putting together and up. There's a real conversation about, do we start to transition, you know, and move into a more sponsored set of them, especially in the walkable, real retail parts of the district. So
Is this the logo that this commission has decided upon? I mean, I'm just asking that question because I just like the idea of consistency. So it's like, if that's the logo that we.
That's what we use.
And
That's not,
yes.
that's not a logo. That was Johnny Hearn just kind of being like, here, let's look at something. I mean, it was,
Logo now.
well,
I mean, Right, so it's like it's on these banners and
It
it
is.
represents the city and the city's logo is behind that. So it's like, that's what that is. And I just say that as it relates to these new banners. So whatever font is chosen, you are in a sense choosing our logo.
We get a lot, you have a lot to say on these new banners. That was just saying City of the Arts, so
Yeah.
you could make it kind of
Also, I
artsy.
think
Why
the
are these
content
photos
is
that I
not-
could?
And now you're gonna have to have the sponsor and the, you know, whatever colors whatever they have, so
Yeah,
it's.
this is so simplistic.
Well, and I'm not saying that this is bad. I'm just saying that's what is chosen and that's what's up. I mean, that's what I associate as a citizen with the City of the Arts
Well, it's
brand.
easy to read.
I think you're probably, I think you ask people, you're very aware of that stuff, but I feel like most people would be like, I don't even know if I've ever seen that banner. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I knew the banner when we talked, yeah.
I just didn't remember if it was still up.
Yeah, still have-
There's no-
Oh, yeah.
We get a call if they don't go up inside.
Yeah, they're nice. But right now, the banners are gonna have a lot more information.
Yeah, well, that's why the whole idea of like stripping down the amount of color that's in it.
And I think that that was because we didn't have like, that was meant to be like a piece of artwork essentially in there when John created it, because it was like, we didn't, what else are we gonna put on there, right? So it wasn't like necessarily. There was a lot of different options, I think, thrown out, and that one was kind of considered to be eye-catching at the time. But I don't think the thought process was never at that time, like, we will use this in
Exactly,
perpetuity.
no, which is.
It was more like because it was a design that was eye-catching and we didn't, like, we couldn't think of a photograph that would work, so it was like, okay.
And not to relive this, but I say all this too, because this commission also talked about the brand of this city. And in a sense, we already have the de facto brand, and those discussions happened is, what is Webster Grove's brand as a city? It does not have one. It used to be Queen of the Suburbs, it used to be X, Y, and Z. Brentwood is what, City of Sun or something like that. City of Warren, you got its home in Shrewsbury. What is Webster Groves? Well, it's de facto already that. And that brand is associated with these things. You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think we decided that at one point, but I think if you ask collectively what people think, that they wouldn't, but they're not buying into that. That was like us, because we were like, we think this is important. But I think if you ask everybody, some people would be like, nope, it's, you know, it's our neighborhood friendliness. It's, you know, like, I think that there's a wide variety of people, that it's the parks, you know, so I, yeah.
But the kind of point is that we're emphasizing something that we have that's unique to
Yeah, for
us.
sure.
So, I
Yes.
mean, we don't need to say we're the city of the parks, because. I mean, this is a way, it's part of our commerce too. I mean,
Right, and I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and I think too, it was appropriate because originally the thought was like, these were going to be arts focused. You know, companies that were being represented on the banners, now hopefully that's still the case, but it
Yeah.
makes a lot more sense to say City of the Arts and here's arts organizations. But when you just say City of the Arts and here's like an insurance company or a coffee company,
Well-
then it becomes more like, we are this and we have
But
these.
it could be
other
that they're sponsoring, I mean.
Right.
I mean, that's,
It'll definitely be there.
I mean, I'm not trying to fight over the idea of City of
So,
the Arts, I
so
like
in
it.
a way, 5 and 6 kind of is the most like this. I mean, we could use that type of a word.
I'm wondering, to your point earlier about, what are the fonts? When you look at the Webster Groves logo is basketball, but used really in a very unique way, with the larger letters. It's not, I wonder what City of the Arts would look like when tied in with that, like larger C, larger T, and just kind of pull it together so it all was without having too much worry.
Doesn't.
Can you do it with swirly?
No, not swirl, no swirl.
No swirl, I'm joking.
Everything's swirling.
With the simplicity of 6 without just being. One color and not that type, not that type.
It's like a horror movie.
Doesn't it? Yeah, it does.
I was King Kong.
Coming in.
Which one?
Six.
I feel like it's like Flintstones.
Yeah.
I'm getting like.
Yeah.
Which one?
Some of us push our cars
Right.
down. so it's-
Horror movie.
Yeah.
Right?
It can help, but it really would be nice if we could tell sponsors, logo and name.
We can put anything in the letter that goes out that the mayor and I get to sign, all those kinds of things, so encourage them and all that. I don't know that the company's gonna say, if you want us to sell these and get these up for free to you, that, you give us I already know they have a text limit, because obviously they can't fit a
Right.
whole sonnet in there, so.
Oh, well, sorry.
And this goes beyond these banners, I was thinking, as we're looking at the banners, in Laguna Beach, California, which is all about art, they're not banners, they have large palettes that they've had different artists paint, and they just put those up throughout town on their flagpoles, or on their light poles, which is such a cool look. I don't know how often they have to change those out, but
They're the shape of a palette?
it is
or-
a palette. People paint palettes,
No,
and
but I mean, like, is it kind of shaped like
like the old fashioned kind, yes.
old fashioned kind?
Think-
Okay.
Yeah.
With a hole in
With
it.
a hole, yeah.
finger. Okay.
And they mount those, and it's all down the street, and it is a very, very cool way to enter the city. And there is only one way to enter this, so.
I was pointing up here as we're going, go ahead, keep going, so. Trying to get you the banners that I was mentioning in Noma. They do murals, and so they're pulling the murals up on the banners is what they're doing, but I don't think they've done,
Can,
yes.
I have a question, because, and I apologize, because maybe I'm behind on, so now that we have this company doing it and they're doing the outreach and they're selling the sponsorship. Is there a thought, or could there be a thought that the Arts Commission writes a letter to various arts organizations to be like, you will be contacted by this company? Just so that it doesn't seem like,
It's the letter that we
Yeah.
are signing, so that they,
Yeah.
yeah, so they always get that because we're obviously putting our sort of seal
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
imprimatur behind it on.
Okay.
We would like you to do this program, it's authorized, it's
Okay.
not a scam, someone using our name, so.
Well, in the list we provided to them
Yeah.
is the list of arts organizations, so we
Fantastic.
start there and fill
And then
up as
like-
many as we
Okay.
can before we move on to anything
that's great,
else.
and I think that letter will
Yeah.
help the,
Yes.
those
Yeah.
organizations know that like, this is what we're trying to do, and we want it to be focused on arts organizations.
Okay. So do we have to decide today?
No, you don't need to decide anything today, so that was a feedback, yep, I will take that back.
How many of these would be sold?
It's just under 60, I think it's 58, so. So there, and most of them, obviously, you have this intersection right here, you have Summon Crossroads, and then really the Murdoch Bridge is your biggest area.
Yeah,
Right across Murdoch, that's not Old Orchards banners in there, and so that's a big entryway. for it,
Mhm.
So. And then Crossroads is redoing their streetscape in a couple of years, so they're upping they're gonna ask for more poles, so ask the council for money, and so, more
Let me ask-
poles and means more banners.
Let me
and-
ask you a question another way. Will City of the Arts be on every one of those 60 banners?
All the banners that we're selling this year. Yes. So that is replacement, just to be very clear, that takes the black banners down. The ones that,
Yeah.
those ones,
Yeah.
those are coming down. So
Yeah.
these are go up. in
these
that
were
line,
replaced,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Another thought is, you see that on the City of the Arts, the one that's there. If you made it, if you use that kind of print and even those colors and make it smaller. Maybe that's a thought, because then it it's kind of repeating just the City of the Arts, but it's up on the top, smaller. You could think of borrowing some of that idea. That's another thought. Because it's,
Mhm.
it's
Sure.
already there and,
Yeah, it's already iconic.
yeah, and people kind of, I mean, when I hear people, they kind of like it, just it's kind of, it's different than just regular print, so it's a thought that we could do, keep that print, but all on wherever we put it on the top, and then
Does somebody have it? Does it still exist?
John.
Because it would
Pretty sure
need to
John
be,
does,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because that would need to be,
Yeah, I think
Oh,
that,
he
Yeah,
could
because
do
you're taking
that.
a vertical composition for it gets squishy into a more
Right,
horizontal
right.
space, which would change the
Yeah.
composition of what it is.
yeah, and the
You
only
could
concern
be
is you wonder if
inspired
that
by it.
font, when you shrink it,
Like
it's gonna be
C's gonna
readable.
disappear to
Yeah.
zero.
Yeah, I mean, it could be inspired by the spirit of that,
Yeah,
you know, and saying that.
It could be reflective of it.
Reflective
yeah,
of it.
it's a thought that we could do.
no, I like that, you know, continuity.
It's kind of, yeah, keeping that still, I mean,
It kind of reminds me of the City Museum's logo a little bit. or-
It's
Kind of
kind
a
of
version of,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
a past version of your.
how he did that. So it would be nice if we could do, or you could do part of them like that, and part of them not.
Yeah, it sounds like.
Well, now we have them on our commissions, it's cool.
It's no longer there, so it's
Yeah.
didn't active logo. It's not good. That company sold
Yeah,
it.
we just
You're
get the
good.
cease and desist letters. and everything.
Okay, so I don't know how we're gonna get a big group to even
You will.
actually decide on one
Design by
thing.
committee is always to.
Yeah.
We have heard your feedback, we will take it back, so. So
And we will
when you're,
take- and we will
if you
take
find
it.
something you don't like when we put them up, you can come and yell at me about it, so
Okay.
we'll go from there. And we'll change it for next year.
yeah, that is the other thing, this, that you don't want to put something up that could mess with your brand, but at the same time, these are only a year, it's only last a year.
They're temporary structures.
Yeah.
So how much will they be charging each business to?
Great question,
For 1 year?
couple of bucks,
I pay 100 to put up and 20 a month downtown.
Yeah.
Per pole.
yeah, so it's not,
Crazy.
I think it's a couple $100 by the time you work out the time factor, and we keep these up across the whole year generally. So. I think we have about 20, we figure that'll be keepable, once we take them off that are, you know, of the black ones that we'll keep on hand to fill in places if we need such.
Our old ones we donated and they made
Bags,
bags and wallets out of. They're really cool in our shops.
Yeah.
I'm still got some sustainability bags downstairs if anyone wants some green shopping bags.
Where are they? I give them away all the time. So,
They're underneath the Christmas lights, which.
we have Japanese exchange students coming tomorrow, so
Okay.
I need to make sure I have some available.
Sorry again.
So should we table this and go to the next? We have a lot still.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to leave at about 25 after 9 today. Well,
Maybe
Jill,
pause it.
what, do you wanna go to,
If I understood correctly, naming policy, the letter's been submitted to Parks and Rec Commission, so it was
That's
really
it.
just an update. Boom, solid.
and the,
I think that's right, because I will verify that.
and the garden signs?
The garden signs, so I gave you all the quote. In fact, I only put it on the screen
Yeah,
here,
so,
so you have the quote. We did go ahead and to simply get them in, so we can have them for the spring, they're all ordered. So
I
the
think,
quote is authorized. I had the PO from our last money, so it's,
When are we gonna get them?
But
What's that?
this-
When will we get?
we should have them this spring, so
Okay.
we should have them hopefully within a month.
Perfect, kind of good.
or people are walking, look,
And the ground won't be frozen.
there you, we hope. And then, Laura has.
Just a couple of things. I was gonna talk about the comprehensive plan, but I think we've already done that. And so just encourage, in addition to the Arts Commission stuff, as we move forward through public engagement, you all know our community, please be active participants, and there should be lots of ways to do that along the way. There's a bunch of Proposition W materials here, which is the big Parks and Recreation grant, bond issue.
Are we having a meeting coming up soon?
Having a meeting on which thing?
On the new parts, or
So-
you've already had them, or you've already had them.
Well, we have had some, we'll have some more, You mean, do you want like a big presentation
No,
meeting?
like,
kind of
is
thing?
there, yeah, is there a big presentation meeting?
We are trying to do smaller group meetings this
Okay.
time rather than one big presentation meeting.
That
So
makes
any
sense.
organization any of you belong to, who might want to hear from me or anyone else, if you look, there's a schedule on.
Destination WG page, just roll right
And
down
we
it.
just filled it a whole bunch of times. We know that there are at least 2 council members and a staff member available each of those times. So you just pick a time and we'll show up anywhere.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Same for the charter amendments.
Yeah, and for the charter amendments as well. So the Prop W stuff, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of social media. Obviously, these public meetings, if there's anything you just want to know, you all know where to find me. You have email, give me a call. I'm fielding calls. One of the things that I get a lot of is why are we replacing the pool, not renovating the pool? And I'll be happy to show you about a dozen pictures of how our pool is falling apart. After
Well,
we
you had engineers come and look at it and make a decision, right?
did, yeah,
that-
and we
I mean,
spent.
that is like the most obvious.
Yeah, that's right. I am empowered to do
And you,
so little,
and you crunch the numbers. and
Yeah,
you're like,
correct.
"Oh, this makes sense.
correct.
Like,
Yeah.
I knew
But there are people who want visual evidence, and so I'm happy to
Yeah.
provide that, or talk through what this is
Send them
about, or
pictures of
some of the,
crumbling concrete.
yeah, well, that, I really do have some of that.
But you probably have to, because if they don't.
But it
See it,
really,
they-
this is,
Concrete.
my job is to
All in there.
help people learn more about this and not really advocate for its passage, but just educate people on what would happen if it passes. And I will say, there are a lot of projects on here. Some people are intimidated by the number of projects. But it's really frankly exciting and could be transformative for our park system and set us up to be, as we talk about public art. The destination of Webster Groves, we're using that as part of this parks thing, but that to me is how we should see ourselves outside of the parks into the future. And the arts will help that, and so will our park system.
Mhm.
So please just let me know if you have questions.
Will there be a foundation?
Will there be a foundation?
Yeah, you were talking about how you might set up, Webster might set up a foundation, like a not private, private nonprofit
Funding.
as a partner. Do you think that'll start to come to fruition?
I don't know the answer to that. You mean right now? Oh, you do?
It's in the strategic plan, so it's part of
Yeah.
our, so we are, part of our job as staff is charged and councils, they're gonna love this when we have to figure out how to seed it, but how do we
Seeded with what? Funding?
seed it with funding?
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. So it's the foundation.
Everything I ever do.
Seed it with $1 and then you go from there.
No, yes, I can see it with $1. Yeah, whether or not we seed it with a substantial amount, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that is part of our strategic plan and part of what we've been charged with is to begin those conversations.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so I thought you meant a art only foundation.
No,
yeah,
just
so
like
we got
a
it,
community
yeah.
foundation.
Yeah.
Similar to.
No,
a lot of
and
these
one of
others.
my colleagues, Pam Bliss, that's one of her big goals is that we get that done in the next couple of years, and it makes a lot of sense because both makes sense in this context, in the art context, it also makes sense in the economic development context for us.
You'd have so many people that would want to do, I mean, you already do it. You already have a memorial bench program and all these
Yeah.
other things. You just gotta inflate those prices a little bit because the actual cost of the bench is much more in terms of administration and all the other
Yeah.
types of things. It's.
Well, and the upkeep. Because the upkeep, if you get the bench.
Yeah.
For a while, it needs to change it.
Whenever, or replace it.
Right. Yes. Like,
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I called Scott about the sign in the right park. He's like, oh no, it'll be there in
It was. I was
3
just gonna
days
say.
or something.
I was just gonna say, we need to say
Like,
thank you
really?
because I want.
That's
We
good.
existed,
yeah, and I know we feel like we're done, but we did have that little thing
Well,
called the
the thing
budget.
with it is-
Oh, we
Oh,
did.
we did pull that out.
No.
I just wanna
All right.
pull that up quick if we can.
Budget.
To show, or just have like
I mean, I
that
have it
logo that
here.
you saw that you
Where
said you
did I put
liked.
the budget file? This one, why not? We'll just keep finding it here.
You guys
Oh, there we
Lots of
go.
tabs open
So,
there.
yeah, I know. So this is your budget from this current
I
year.
don't mean, I like this.
What you had $700 for the Lifetime Achievement
Or just
Reception,
have a white background. with-
300 for the Poetry Month. And then you had 500 for an art walk, 500 for banners, which obviously is not gonna be used for that purpose. We've got that figured out. And then 4,400 for outdoor concerts. This is not the public art fund. This is what the council gives you yearly. You don't get to roll any of it over. It falls to the bottom line. So this is the use it or lose it budget.
Go buy some cupcakes.
So unless you tell me different, the same numbers are gonna go in for this coming budget request.
And do we have to have this decided today? Okay.
Friday's budget deadline, so. So I obviously, I do think the banners are gonna be necessary.
Right, and the art walk is not really, that was a project that I think has,
Is that a one-time thing?
well, that was the idea that there would be like some sort of brochure that would be created that people could like walk among the sculptures and like learn about them. And I think what we
Like that.
decided is that an actual feasible thing that people would do and is a good use of money. And so we put everything online.
We talked about putting it online too.
Yeah, and
Leave it
so
as-
it is.
Okay, good.
So I don't know if we just, I mean, that could be something that you revisit in the next year, obviously, but that was not spent this year, so, to my knowledge. And then outdoor concerts was,
Support for outdoor concerts for, call it Burr Oak.
Burr Oak, right,
uh,
right.
Usually piano
Piano
fest.
fest.
yeah.
So.
Is that happening?
It didn't happen, it didn't happen this summer. I don't know.
What, the piano one?
Yeah,
Yeah, Baroque happened though.
It
right?
did.
Burr Oak
yes,
happened, but yeah.
I'm not here during that.
And what about Jazz Fest? Is Jazz Fest?
Jazz Fest is carried by the old Webster Trade.
So of this budget, what did we spend?
You pushed out most of your outdoor concert money theoretically, what you're going to for Burr Oak between what you added in last year and then what I anticipate you'll do this year. You obviously did your lifetime achievement reception. Will be in the spring again, is that spring or
It's
fall?
fall.
Fall, so it's what we just did is out of this budget. Poetry month, I don't know if you did anything with. I can't, I don't know.
We spent very little on Poetry Month. I think there was like a couple stipends of like $50 for speakers. Maybe we went up, like, I think we're like, can we go up to 75? I think that last meeting, didn't we talk about talking to the library about taking over Poetry Month? Because it makes a lot more sense. We're doing everything in conjunction with them. And so is that, you know, having them spearhead that with us maybe helping, you know, in certain ways of potentially promoting more, but
That's right.
So we can get rid of banners, correct? And move that over to outdoor concerts?
You can move the funding into whatever you want. I would eliminate the titling of things if you don't, if it's too general, mark it in a spot, sponsorship or something like that.
Yeah.
The council will cut it.
right. I mean, you could keep Poetry Month in there and the fact that we might like work with the library to do something. It's $300, right? So
Yeah.
it's not.
And we can manipulate this as
Yeah,
well. So
yeah,
once, even though we write it down, it can be, if we're gonna move it to another place or use it for something else,
Yeah.
we can do that. So
Okay, do we have to decide today or do we?
we need to decide an amount, like you want essentially the same amount to go in. I can always change the
I
title.
think we want the same amount. I mean,
We went at least the same amount.
Yeah.
and then, but some
least
things have changed.
Rick and I are always advocating for about 10, 30, $50,000 more.
Right.
So, but I think, you know, in terms of, is there signage built in there too? I mean, any type of signage, does that fall under parks? In terms of
Or-
like,
or-
what we just did,
Yeah.
what we just did with all of this.
So that was all covered in a one-time fund that we had.
Or emergency funds.
No, there's no signage. So really, this has been the Arts Commission has been sponsoring events and sponsoring outside arts works or festivals or such. So I don't know if you've given money to Webster Arts. I don't think we have through this.
No.
budget.
No.
So
It's different.
The timing of the essence, I would move that we keep our budget with the idea that we might want to alter how we label these things in the future, but to save this.
I agree.
we can change the language at any.
I think that's the easiest thing to do for now, yes.
yeah, and
Okay,
Okay,
keep the same money. I'll put it in.
just need the same money. you know. So we know.
I'm sorry.
Okay, do we have
See, next budget.
a motion to adjourn?
If I can.
Yeah.
I don't know.